The Dow Industrials are up 285. Okay, Musk is speaking right now. Have we got the sound? Listen in, please.
Going public for with the largest IPO that ever. And let me tell you, if people had told me this was going to happen, I was like, man, you must be smoking some really good crack, because I think this company's going to fail. I mean, I gave SpaceX less than a 10% chance of succeeding at all, to be clear. In fact, I told people this. I said, look, we're probably going to fail, but we should give it a try, because if we don't, if there's not a new company that enters space, we will never be a truly spacefaring civilization. While the other aerospace companies, they build good rockets and everything, they were simply not pursuing the technology that's necessary to make life multiplanetary, to make Star Trek, to make the exciting science fiction futures that we've read about real. And that's what SpaceX is all about. It's to take the fiction out of science fiction and create an exciting, inspiring future for everyone. We want to be able to take anyone who wants to go to the moon, anyone who wants to go to Mars, or anywhere in the solar system, and maybe beyond the solar system at some point. We want to be able to take you there. Not just a few astronauts. I mean you, literally you. If you watch, whoever you are watching this, SpaceX wants to be able to take you to the moon, take you to Mars, and ultimately beyond.
I'd buy that for $1.
Kelly, sometimes deals are done and they really pop just as much as they should, and they attract people. It's not outrageous, it's not Cerebrus, it's not Figma. It's just a very good deal, very well priced, and people who want to buy it, I think, should absolutely go do it. So there's nothing embarrassing about it. There's always a couple of people who are they're kind of house bears, and you can dig them up, and they're going to come up with a lot of negative things. But I've been seeing that since I got in. I walked down Wall Street 44 years ago when the Dow was at about 1,000, and the same naysayers, some of them are still around, but we got new naysayers. They kind of do the same thing, and they've kept people from being wealthy, and their jobs, the people who have the regular jobs, that would never make them wealthy. And I feel like we should want to encourage wealth, and this one is only going to make people a lot of money.
Do you think, though, Jim, that people are going to have to think really long-term about, when you buy it at 2.5 in the valuation? I mean, look at Tesla. Its market cap hasn't moved around all that much in recent years. So, buy it, own it, put it away, whatever. But I guess that's what I mean. I expect there to be quite a lot of volatility in the near term. It might take a while for this one to really be, a massive wealth builder.
Well, Kelly, the Chinese targeted robots and they targeted cars. And when the PLA and the Chinese government get together, they can really wreck a lot of industries, as many working people in our country know. I think that Elon Musk will not tolerate that, and so therefore I think that we're going to own space This is a person who uniquely understands how important owning space is, and I think that I want to be with him. I don't care. And by the way, he has things in his head right now that are probably far more valuable than what we see, and just hasn't articulated. That's the same thing that Jensen Huang, another genius, did. He had a lot of things in his head that hadn't been fully articulated that have been all coming true. I think there's more to this company than what's in the prospectus. And I think that, I don't know, personally, I'm proud. Proud to be an American today. I know to be reflective to sound almost silly because we're talking about pieces of paper, but I think this one is more than a piece of paper. I think this reminds me very much of when we landed on the moon, and I realized that we had beaten the Russians. And at that point, I know it sounds hard to believe, but the Russians in the press were supposed to be beating us in everything, in every part of technology. And we won that race, and something changed in our country where we believed that we were superior. We since then, of course, fell back and believed that the Russians were superior again. There's always some people who, I guess, are supposed to be superior, but right now, today, we are.
Oh, this Kramer guy seems to be pretty excited about the SpaceX stock. Maybe we should invest. What do you think? Anyways, I made a graphic. Moon for sale. And I didn't even use AI. So there. You don't need XAI or Anthropic or OpenAI. It's called Photoshop, baby. Doing it the old school way. Keeping it real. But wow, I had to do something for this SpaceX IPO. I think partially just because, after following SpaceX for so many years, it's kind of surreal to just be at this point now where suddenly it's the most valuable company in the world, even though, so many people are pointing out how, they lost $5 billion last year and they're not profitable, but there's this big inflated stock price, and then they changed the rules back in May of this year so that what everyone's talking about with it is how, all the retail investors, right, all the 401ks and retirement funds are going to, instead of waiting a year, they're going to start buying into it like pretty much right away. And so everyone's talking about like, oh, this could just be total disaster for like everyone's retirement. And on the one hand, so I was like, how ironic is that, right? To use the whole moon landing mythos and the moon landing Kool-Aid of cosmism and colonizing the solar system and all that stuff, as like the ultimate pump and dump Ponzi scheme. What a crazy twist that I did not see coming. And so it could just really be that. And that in itself would be kind of mind-blowing, that this is where space travel now has brought us to the brink of, like, we're going to use it as the final blow to implode the economy and usher in the digital dollar, right? Could be. But then as I've been thinking about all this, I was like, wait. I mean, if you stop, as I was kind of like putting together clips for an intro and thinking about like the whole movie trailer that has been Elon Musk, like he's a total construct. His entire life story is this fabricated narrative, and this whole IPO was all about like the Elon factor, right?
Because Elon Musk has a vision, you're allowed to buy a piece of what Elon Musk is doing, and so therefore I think that we're going to own space. This is a person who uniquely understands how important owning space is, and I think that I want to be with him.
Elon gets it done, or I forget what they're saying. It's all based on him. And look at all the odds that he's beat. That's what it's always been, whether it was like with Tesla or everything else. It's like this miracle story that people just want to buy into, and it's rah-rah America, the propaganda fest that just refuses to die. And so I was thinking about all that, right? All the years of him just quote-unquote defying the odds and being the poster boy for what are really all these government projects, right? Whether it's EVs, whether it's the brain chip, outer space. And this is kind of diabolically genius, right? So if they do, because of course the SpaceX IPO was just the first one of these $1 trillion, massive IPOs. And then I think in a few weeks they're doing OpenAI and Anthropic, or sometime this year. So all these giant AI companies are going to go public and then basically become the biggest publicly held companies on the planet. So it's either they're going to use it to implode, we're creating the biggest bubble in economic history, which of course it is. It is a bubble. It's like everyone sees it. But that's kind of how the whole American economy has functioned. everybody knows it's a bubble. Everybody knows it's fiat, it's inflationary, it's all based on hype and perception. But if you're riding the bubble, so in a way, it's like by making everybody's really like you're grabbing everyone by the cojones and putting their 401ks all riding on SpaceX. We're all riding on Elon. Who's going to be nobody wants to be a naysaying flat earther if your retirement fund is at stake, right? Nobody wants to see through the curtain and see that it's all a big, fake and gay reality show, if that means that it implodes. So I was like, is it really about the money, or is the money, are we looking at this backwards? If you get what I'm saying. Like, is it really all about, because they can, when you control the media and you control the market, we all know that, like, yeah, if they want it to go up, it'll go up. They're running the casino. They can rig the game however they want to rig it. But if it's not about making money or even imploding the economy, but getting everybody even more invested, like literally invested, not just emotionally and psychologically, which people already are. And so by merging those two things, like your actual retirement investments and the economy as a whole, if we're gonna put the whole economy on SpaceX and let it ride, it reminds me of that saying that, like, it's impossible to get somebody to believe something if their paycheck relies on them not believing it, or vice versa. When you have a financial incentive to believe that SpaceX is really doing all this stuff, you're essentially buying belief. You're essentially buying people's buy-in. You're bought in, literally bought in to the lie of outer space. And because I think that's what they really want. It's really not about, they certainly don't care about us making, so it could actually not tank, I think is what I'm saying. But then the same thing would apply to like Anthropic and OpenAI, because they want people to be bought into artificial intelligence and merging that with everything we do and, every industry, even though it doesn't make any sense. But I also think that that's why, the SpaceX stuff, I did a video a little while back, talking about the terafab and their whole BS thing about putting data centers in space, like little mini sats. And maybe that would tie into why, just in the last month or two, why suddenly it was like everyone was freaking out about the data center energy consumption. Like, it definitely seemed like it was a manufactured and boosted narrative, was the whole backlash over the data centers. So yeah, problem, reaction, solution. Oh no, if we have the data centers in space, well then they're not using water for cooling and they're not using electricity. So all that could just be really to boost Elon or boost SpaceX. And it's like, oh, then everyone's, we're all bought into AI, then we don't have to worry about the data centers. It's a quote win-win, right? So I don't know. I'm not telling anybody to, obviously I'm not giving financial advice. I wouldn't buy into the stock market, period, if you can help it. But yeah, a lot of people, their retirement accounts are just already automatically, they're not controlling what they even invest in. You don't really have a choice. So that's kind of where America's at right now. So it's very interesting to kind of think about that being used in order to leverage people's belief in this, what really is technically fascism, where it's like it's the government and private enterprise totally blended together and indistinguishable, really, at this point, the government and the corporations. So I think it's really all about just pushing AI and the entire interstellar Big Bang, it all connects together with aliens and everything else. So getting people to buy in to the Copernican lie and, of course, transhumanism, because they're already merging all these different companies, and it'll be interesting to see if they, in the future, then just merge Neuralink in there as well, and it'll all just become one just ginormous corporation. It's literally like something out of a dystopian sci-fi movie. We want to take the fiction out of sci-fi. Well, they're definitely not taking the dystopian part out of the sci-fi. It's pretty hilarious. He's got the leather jacket, so it's all part of the dream, the Star Trek dream. This is the technocratic, totalitarian surveillance state being sold via Star Trek. And that's what it's always been about.
These AI data centers just require an enormous amount of power in order to run them, also to cool them. And so they've essentially hit what is an energy wall.
And yet, demand keeps accelerating. Globally, electricity use for data centers is expected to double by 2030. By 2050, it will likely represent 1/10 of all electricity consumed on Earth.
Some forecasts suggest that over just the next 3 years alone, we will need an additional 50 to 100 gigawatts of new energy for new data center capacity just in North America alone. For context, one nuclear power station is about a gigawatt, so you'd be looking at 50 to 100 new nuclear projects in the US.
So, what happens when artificial intelligence outpaces the power and land needed to sustain it?
3, 2, 1.
The answer may be above Earth.
Man, you must be smoking some really good crack. To make Star Trek, to make the exciting science fiction futures that we've read about real. And that's what SpaceX is all about, is to take the fiction out of science fiction and create an exciting, inspiring future for everyone. We want to be able to take anyone who wants to go to the moon, anyone who wants to go to Mars, or anywhere in the solar system, and maybe beyond the solar system at some point. We want to be able to take you there. About this, there are always problems on Earth. There are always problems on Earth. There are always things that we wish to be better, that we want to solve here on Earth, and we should solve them. But there also have to be things that get you excited about the future, that make you glad to wake up in the morning, because you can't wait to see what happens next. And that's the future that SpaceX wants to bring to you.
begin.